Hello, everybody. I'm the only one standing between you and the lunch, so I'll try to finish as soon as possible. Okay. I'm Sandeep Hooda, as you know, it was mentioned in the talk earlier, but I'll just go and again talk about myself. I love talking about myself, to be honest. Just kidding. So I'm an engineering manager with DBS, over 19 years of experience. My current role, I'm actually building new solutions, strategic and innovative. And I have done many roles. I've done platform engineering, SRE, DevOps, and even risk management. I love to go out to the sea when I'm free, as Kurt mentioned, and I love sailing. I'm practicing sailing, to be honest, and I want to sail around in the world to see all the lighthouses. That's my dream, which should come true soon. Work in progress. Okay, so today, as you heard me yesterday, I'm the one who really likes to dig into things and understand what's happening around the world. So I was looking at, to do a retrospective, to cultivate a team which is high performing and have a resilient team. What are we supposed to do? How you should do retrospectives? So I looked at things like what happens actually when you're doing a retrospective in meetings. What do the people do? Okay, so I dig around, gave you some references. So 55% of people are all actually making phone calls or texting. I'm sure some of you are doing it right now. Okay, so that puts you off. Okay, then the 49% people are actually who don't listen to others, right? And 46% of people who talk about nothing for a long time. They just go round and round in a meeting, which really puts off people. 50% of people who interrupt others, okay? And 49% of people are arriving late, as I can see right now. Okay, but the 9% of people are taking notes on their laptops. These are my favorite people, if they're taking notes for the meeting rather than planning for the day. Yeah. So this is what happens, which irritates people who are doing the retrospective meetings, especially the ones who are conducting it. All right, so I look around again. Okay, so what do the professional things, which are the key elements for a successful retrospective meeting? So I just went through this, and this is a survey which I came across. It's having us right objectives, the goal of a meeting to make sure that what are we supposed to get out of it. That's the highest ranking. Then having a clear agenda. A meeting goes through certain agenda items rather than, it's all hodgepodge. And then reduce number of people. So we get only the people who are involved, rather than having a crowd there. I've seen meetings where people go on a problem call. I will not name the organizations, but there are 250 people on the call. I'm not sure how the retrospective can be done. Maybe only 10 are involved in any kind of outage. And the 27% people say visual stimulus is very important. What you hand out, if you have slides to present, these are the things which really, get them engaged in a meeting. Okay, so I come to a point, what makes a bad retrospective? The herd mentality, okay? Everybody goes with the crowd. Whatever crowd thinks, they just go with the majority and think, yeah, that's the problem here. That's what we should be focusing on. People come up with baseless facts which have no data behind it. So, that's something which really does not give you a good retrospective. A gut feeling, yeah, I feel this is a problem. I don't know how many of you heard this thing from people who know, oh, I know this, that happened 10 years ago. It's the same problem. Sorry, 10 years ago, monolith, now microservices. I don't know how does it even make sense. Then ego, yeah, there are people in the room who have big egos. They do, kind of take a stand, and they do not want to, nudge at all, right? They want to just say, this is the thing. And then the last one, which is one of my favorite ones. I don't know how many of you heard about this. Hippo or hypo, whatever you want to call it, okay? The highest income paid person or the highest ranking officer in that meeting. Whatever he says, people just not, right? I don't know how many of you face it, but I have faced it many times in my life. So this is something which also creates a bad retrospective. So we always want to try to see if you don't get the bureaucracy into the retrospective. That's what you should always make sure. Keep it out. Keep the highest ranking officers out as much as possible. Okay, so Now let's talk about the whole "it's not my problem" cycle. Okay, so what is that loop that happens? Mistakes happen, right? Okay, then people say, who is responsible for the mistake? And then the blame starts. Someone has to be, made accountable for the problem. And then people get scared. They start covering up. They start saying things like this: "There's no error in the logs." And then there are people who just don't want to even learn from the incident. They will say, "This is something. It's not my problem at all. Why should I be even bothered to know it?" So, in a nutshell, the summary is: we all make mistakes, right? We start to accuse out of fear, right? Okay. Then we try to cover up and refuse to learn, and then we don't manage to solve the problem. The problem is never solved. It lingers, and we start ignoring the problem, and this vicious loop just goes on and on. Okay. So that's something which we need to solve. So that brings me to a question, how do we break down these barriers? What can we do? I don't know if you know the answer, but I would say take responsibility, I guess. Let's take the responsibility to break it. But that brings me to another point. Take responsibility. How many of you have seen responsibility being avoided or accepted? Let's see how you might have heard these things. The avoidance. I'm not responsible for this. Why did you do this? This is not my problem. Who is responsible? It's not my system's fault. It's your system. These are the quotes you'll hear from people who don't want to accept, or avoid the responsibility. But then there are good things, like, let me check and get back to you. If you hear some person saying that, he is responsible. Can you walk us through what happened? Let's work out a solution. What are the possible causes to leading to this issue? How can we solve together and ensure it does not happen again? That's taking responsibility. And that's what the culture should be. Anyway, so we go into that. Okay, let's see how the engaging retrospective will feel like, right? So there is a clarity and transparency when you're discussing in a retrospective that really makes sense. People are not fearful. They have an open and encouraging culture. They come forward and say, these are the problems we have. This is what happened. They have no issues with sharing that. And then, of course, depth and relevance, which is relatable and going in depth for the retrospective. Of course, the action plans should be precise. You should have the right action plans and track them to closure. Very important. I've seen retrospectives where action plans are very huge and then they are not tracked to closure. It's an open problem that causes more issues. Okay, so do you feel safe to share an idea? That's another point I want to discuss. Okay, so for feeling safe, in DBS, we follow a simple principle, A, B, C, D, E, okay? I'm going to share with you what are those, okay? So A, B, C, D, E stands for apply AAI, awareness, acceptance, and intention, being accountable, create safe and secure environment, data-driven analysis, and E is for encouraging collaboration. I'll go in depth with all of these in the subsequent slides. Right, so AAI, how do we apply that? So awareness, we are all aware of what's going around in the world. Actually, the human race or the human species is the only, mammal on this earth which understands about, they're aware of the world, what's going on in the world, right? Unlike other species. So we are all aware of things going on, right? Good, bad, ugly, whatever. But then without acceptance, what happens is the intention doesn't improve. So our intention is not to fix it, and we get into a problem that, the blame game starts. So what can we do? Accept. Once you accept, the whole intention changes, and it becomes a responsibility. Let me give you an example. I have to confess, I have been eating a lot of junk food recently. I know a lot of my friends who know me that I gained a lot of weight. I don't want to say the numbers here, but I'm aware it's bad for me. It's bad for my health, but I'm not accepting it, and hence not giving up. So that's what AAI means. So if you accept it, and I know it is unhealthy for me and I stop it, then automatically my aim is to be responsible about my own body, my health, right? So that's what AAI is. And if you try it in your organizations, like I applied in the example of a real life, it will really change a lot of things. And this is actually a psychology 101 for you guys with AAI. All right, so being accountable. For accountability, you need to trust and respect each other. There should be a mutual respect and trust so that there's always curiosity to solve problems. Now, accountability has two types. Okay, there's a forward-looking accountability and there's a backward-looking accountability. I don't know how many of you guys have heard that. So, backward-looking accountability means who is at fault. Find the problem, find the person who has created the problem, prove him guilty and punish him. Forward-looking accountability is what caused the problem, right? Find the factors which cause the problem and then fix those rather than blaming on one person or two. Forward-looking accountability example for you is what airlines follow, right? All the airlines industry are forward-looking. They never believe in it's not because of a pilot or something else, but they find the problem in the airplanes and make sure they fix it for the people to be safe when they fly again. So it should prevent from never happening again. Backward-looking accountability, I don't want to put too much example, I'll just give you a very simple thing. It's our judicial system. And you know what happens in the judicial system. Somebody is made accountable or blamed, and then he's punished. So that's what accountability means. So in the nutshell, we should follow forward-looking accountability. Okay, so question, how does it feel to be scolded? Not by a spouse or parents, otherwise. It's bad, right? I could not find many other emojis worse than these, right? So that's why I put everything there. Okay, so what should we do? We should create a safe and secure environment. We should always listen, invite inputs, get the people to participate, ask them to respond productively rather than always trying to react to the problems, right? We can always panic in a problem situation. Try to kind of change the mindset and be productive and solve the problem. It totally changes the way you handle it. And of course, foster psychological safety. That is a given. And the D, data-driven analysis. Okay, so what we do in DBS is to make sure that we go through the whole chronology. We have all the artifacts from the observability dashboards to the email artifacts, whatever goes on in any kind of a project or an outage. We collect all those things and then do a retrospective. Then we have to make sure that we should always retain the data at the time of an outage or during a project delivery. Whatever we do, we should make sure the data is retained so that we can do a retrospective. Many times I heard this, oh, we lost the data, we lost the logs. Sorry, cannot do anything. Then, of course, implementing traceability, which is very important for us as well as all the organizations we have been hearing about. And of course, analysis should be based on the facts, not based on hindsight viewpoints. Make sure the facts are there, which is backed up by data. That's how we do the data-driven analysis. Now, encourage collaboration. Of course, create an open culture, which I discussed earlier. Make sure they're involved. Your teams are involved in decision-making. You increase that, and they're actively listening. So they should, if they are engaged, they will listen. Otherwise, they will be just looking at their laptops. And make sure you have regular check-ins with your team. Very important, because if you give a regular feedback, it becomes more constructive rather than reactive. So how often do you show appreciation? Let's just say this is a very important point. This is very close to me. And again, it's about mindset. Taking responsibility is a mindset. Changing the culture is a mindset. Breaking the barrier is a mindset. It's all about mindset. So you need to understand what is the mindset about. So I came across with this wonderful, one of the articles, and I saw this about fixed mindset and a growth mindset. I want to summarize this with this slide, the whole talk, and I want you guys to go back and try to understand, are you a flexible mindset or a fixed mindset? And then go back to your teams, and discuss how you can make them high-performing teams with this change of mindset. So, I mean, fixed mindset, everybody knows, intelligence static, no growth mindset. The growth mindset is more like, you want to learn more and more, okay? The fixed mindset people are mostly the ones who are genius. They will always say that we know everything. Those kind of people are always a fixed mindset. Whereas the growth mindset people are the ones who want to learn, who have a desire to learn. Then how do you face challenges when you are a fixed mindset? You avoid them. You don't want to go into a war just because there's nothing for you as a genius. Then you have the ones who growth mindset, they always embrace the challenge. So when the obstacles come, the fixed mindset, simple, clear, avoid it, get defensive. That's when you see people who are getting defensive are the ones who feel that they are the best and there is no problem there. So if you meet them, you understand they have a fixed mindset. Don't try to understand their psychology. And then the ones with the growth mindset always are persistent people. They don't not give up. They will just keep going back and again, even whatever obstacle they face, they will keep perseverance to make sure that they achieve it. Effort, of course, as I told earlier, the fixed mindset person is a genius who feels effort is a waste, okay, because he already knows everything, he's a genius. Whereas the growth mindset is always looking for the mastery. They will always keep on putting more and more efforts to become the masters. So criticism, okay, as you get feedback or criticism, the fixed mindset people will always try to ignore it, whereas the growth mindset people will actually take it constructively, and be it negative or positive, they will take it and then work on it. The success of others, yeah, fixed mindset people get jealous, that happens, but the flexible or the growth mindset people will actually make sure their team grows and they learn from the peers and get motivated when the peers grow, then they also want to grow. That's the growth mindset, right? Okay, so the results. Okay, the fixed mindset people are the ones who do very good in their some short span of their career, and then they start to kind of create a plateau. Whereas the growth mindset people are always on this graph to grow and maybe likely to reach the higher levels of achievements, which cannot be achieved by our geniuses, as we call them. So that's the summary. Okay, I hope this changes the mindset for you guys and you can judge yourself which mindset you fall into, and take this back to your teams. I don't change. Change is only a mindset thing. That's all. Thank you.